Okay, so this is page 1 of the recertification worksheet. Before we even get into the rest of it, let me point out that I am using the PDF format of this worksheet. So if you feel that using this format would be easier for you, please contact us at the office and we will provide you a copy. Now, there are going to be some areas where you're not going to be able to use the fillable format. You're actually going to have to handwrite in information, but you will see those areas as we go through the worksheet. Right here, we're going to list all of the people who are living in the apartment right now. So no new people. In fact, no new people are going to go on this worksheet at all, but I'll get to that in just a moment. Right now, I'd like to focus back on tenant number 1. So if you are lead tenant number 1, place your name here. If you're filling this out for lead tenant number 1, make sure that you put their name here. And then right here, you're going to have to handwrite that information in if you're using the PDF format. If not, then this does not apply to you, but still fill these areas in. And then move forward with listing all of the people in the household, including minors. If, for example, you don't have the social security numbers for the individuals in the household or the dates of birth, then contact us because we can provide you a copy of your last year's recertification, or if this is your first time completing a recertification, we still have your application on file, which contains this information. So again, lead tenant number 1 goes here, fill in the social security number, date of birth, etc., and then move on to additional tenants and then all of their pertinent information as well. In this section, we're talking about the household size. So, have there been any changes to your household size since you moved in? If there have not been any changes, you can click or mark no and then move on with the rest of the worksheet. If there have been changes, you're going to click yes, and then you're going to explain what change occurred in this space right here. If, for example, you had an adult who was in the household but will no longer be a member of the household, you would click yes and then put their information here. And then in addition to that, we will need a 30-day notice signed by that individual. And that's just so that we can remove them from the household and continue on with the recertification process. If, for example, a minor child has left the household, you're still going to want to click yes and put that information down here. However, we do not need to have a 30-day written notice from a minor child. If you have any questions, give us a call. I'd like to briefly go over adding new people to the household. If you would like to add a new person, either an adult or a minor child, just make sure that you contact us at the office so that we can give you all the necessary information. It is a process that is done outside of the recertification process. So again, contact us at the office and we will walk you through that. So this is page 2 of the recertification worksheet, and our very first box here is custody. Do you have full custody of your child or children listed above? So this is relating to the minor children listed on this worksheet. So if you do have full custody of the minor children within the household, circle yes and then move on. If, for example, you do not have minor children in the household, you can either circle no or put in NA, and that will suffice for us. But in the event that you do have a custody arrangement of any kind, you're going to circle no because you do not have full custody of the minor children listed in the worksheet. So circle no and then explain the custody arrangements. Are they 50-50, 60-40? Whatever your situation is going to be explained here. And then we're going to move on. In this box, we are focusing our attention on child support or alimony. So are you or anyone in your household entitled to receive child support or alimony? You would circle yes if you are entitled to it, maybe not receiving that money right now, but you are entitled to it. So that's what we want to know. If you are entitled to receive child support or alimony, circle yes. And of course, if not, then circle no. And then right here, if money is not actually received, are you taking legal action? So are you going to go through an agency or a court to obtain the child support or alimony? If you are, then circle yes. And if you're not, that's okay too. Just circle no. And this is really going to depend on your particular situation. But right here, Please provide the name, names, and address or addresses of agency, court, or individual providing the support. So again, if you're taking legal action and you're going through an agency or a court, you're going to put that information here and then their respective addresses. If, for example, you're going directly through an individual, a one-on-one type basis without an agency or a court being involved, then place that individual's name here and then their address as well. So looking at special needs here, the very next box, do you or anyone in your household have any special needs? If you do, let us know. If you don't, circle no. But if you do, let us know who in the household has a special housing need. And then let us know what that need is so we can work with you. But let me stress, you do not have to wait until recertification time to let us know about this. If you have a special need at any part of the year, just contact the office and we're going to help you work that out. Live-in care attendant. Do you or anyone in your household require a live-in care attendant? If you do require a live-in care attendant, let us know. Circle yes. If you don't, of course, circle no. But let's say that you have a live-in care attendant currently. You're still going to circle yes because you require that live-in care attendant. So circle yes. And then again, right here, if yes, who? So who in the household requires the live-in care attendant? If, for example, you require one but don't have one yet, contact the office because just like special needs, it's a different process and we want to help you with that. So contact us and we can walk you through that entire process. We're looking at the bottom half now of the recertification worksheet, page 2. And right here, we're looking at Section 8 rental assistance. Do you or anyone in your household possess a current Section 8 voucher? And I know that this is cut off right here, and it could just be because we're using the PDF format. I'm not really sure. But if you do have a current Section 8 voucher, circle yes. If you don't, circle no. And then, is it transferable? If you don't know the answer to this, if you're unsure, contact us and we're going to help you figure out if it is or if it is not. But if you know the answer, go ahead and circle either that applies to you or to your Section 8 voucher, and then move on to providing the name and address of your county or city housing authority. So then you would put that county or city housing authority's name here, their address, and then their phone number. In this section right here, we're looking at full-time student information. So are you or any member of your family, including minors, a full-time student? Yes or no? So if you're unsure, you can contact us and we can let you know, or you can simply check with your educational organization to find out if they consider you a full-time student, because if they do, then we will also consider you a full-time student. Now, let's also talk about educational organizations. That would be elementary school, middle school, junior high school, colleges, universities, vocational schools, trade schools, or mechanical schools. So if you're enrolled in any of those types of programs and they consider you a full-time student, then we would as well. And then right here, we're planning to be a full-time student within the next 12 months. Generally, we would be looking at, for example, minor children in the household. They most likely are going to be full-time students within the next 12 months. So then yes or no if not. But let's say that we're talking about an adult who may or may not be a full-time student. If you're filling this out as the full-time student and expect to be a student within the next 12 months, answer accordingly. If you're filling this out for another household member and they expect to be full-time students or not, again, answer accordingly. And then move on here where it says name of student, name of school, phone number, address, city, and zip. So if you don't have enough room for more than one student on this page, you can make another page and just handwrite in that information just to give us all the information for every student in the household. And then we're done with this part. But if you have questions about any part of this, please reach out to us so we can give you further instruction or clarification. And then right here where it says personal, in case of emergency, please notify. So make sure that we have a personal contact for emergencies, their phone number, and then the relationship. Again, if you have any questions about any part of this page, then give us a call and we can explain it to you. And we're going to move on to page 3 now, where we're going to be discussing income for the household. Page 3 of the recertification worksheet. So we are focusing our attention on this page on the income information for the household, for every household member, and anticipated income for the next 12 months. And then just right here, really quickly, is a possible source or a list of possible sources of income. So just keep in mind that if your income does not appear here, it still needs to be represented on this worksheet. Now, if you look here, we only have enough room for tenant number 1 and tenant number 2 to put their income information. But let's say that you have an additional tenant in the household who's receiving an income of some kind. I'm going to show you where to put that information. And then also with either tenant number 1 or tenant number 2, perhaps either one or both of them have other sources of income that do not fit within these 2 spaces here. So if that's the case, I'm going to show you the additional page and where you can put that information in as well. Make sure though that you're placing the name of the tenant here, the name of the source, their source of income here, the contact person, and then the contact information. And that's very important for us because we do need to send verifications out to these companies or individuals. So make sure that we have that information. If you have a question about it, give us a call and we can walk you through that. Now down here where we're looking at zero income verification, are you or is any other adult member of your household claiming zero? If you are claiming zero income or if somebody in your household is claiming zero income, please place their names here. And again, if you have questions about this, give us a call and we will help you with that. But that's it. That is the end of page 3 and the income page of the recertification worksheet. Okay, so on this page, we're looking at the asset information for every household member, including minors. And then in this little area here is a list of possible sources of assets. So just like with the income page, if your source of asset does not appear within this list, it still needs to be represented in the worksheet for adults and for minors. So keep that in mind. All assets in the household need to be represented in this worksheet. Now looking just at tenant number 1. If tenant number 1 has a checking account or just a savings account or both, just circle 1, whichever applies to the tenant. So we're going to start with checking. If that individual has a checking account, please circle checking and then provide the entire account number. What we don't want to see is a bunch of X's with the last 4 digits of the account number. We do need to have the entire account number here, so please make sure that that is filled out. The name on the account, the name of the bank, and the address. If you don't have the address, simply look on your statement and there will be an address to your bank there. The balance and or value of that asset, and then move on to the other assets here. If you only have a checking or if you only have a savings and you're done, then you can move on to the next tenant. But if you have a checking and a savings, and we started in our example with the checking, and now let's go on with the savings, same thing as above, full account number, name of bank, name on the account, balance or value, and then move on to the next box. So a lot of times this would be great. This other asset would be a really good spot to put in a 401k, 403b, money market, treasury bills, trust funds. Those types of things are going to go in here. If you have additional checkings or savings, you can also put them here, but just make sure that you're specifying this is a checking or a savings account in addition to these that are listed above. And then again, the same thing. But right here where it says source, we don't have name of bank listed here, but that's what that is. The name of the agency holding that asset, the contact information, balance or value, and then the same for the next box. And again, if you have additional assets that cannot fit within this page or within these slots here, I'm going to show you where you can add that additional information. Tenant number 2, the same as with tenant number 1. However, if tenant number 2 and tenant number 1 share an account, make sure that that shared account appears in both of their asset lists. And right here, have you or any other member of your household disposed of or given away any asset or assets for less than fair market value within the last 2 years? So this would mean that you had an asset that was valued at a certain amount, but you disposed of it or gave it away for less than what it was valued at. Then you're going to make sure that you fill this part out. If you have questions about this, I feel like the best answer is for you to contact us so that we can address it individually. So we are done then with the asset page of the recertification worksheet, and we're going to move on to the last page. Page 5 of the recertification worksheet. In this box here, I want to highlight that. I certify the foregoing information is true, complete, and correct. I also understand that false statements or omissions are grounds for disqualification, eviction, and or prosecution under the full extent of California law. So this little box right here should alert you that you're going to need to put in a signature. So just a printed name is not going to suffice unless your signature is your printed name. So just keep that in mind. And then also we don't need to have minor children sign or print names here, just the adults. So make sure we have actual signatures and we have a date. If you do not have additional sources of income or additional assets that you need to represent in the worksheet, then you have completed your worksheet and we can move on to the next part of the recertification process. But if you do need to add additional sources of income or assets, I'm going to show you where to do that in just a moment. If you're still with me, that means that either you have additional tenant income to report or additional assets that need to be reported on the worksheet. So just to go through this really quickly, as we mentioned above with tenant number 1 and tenant number 2, if those individuals have additional sources of income that didn't fit within the income page of the worksheet thus far, make sure that you add those additional sources of income in these areas. So right here, this little space is open so that you can identify which tenant we're talking about. So if it's tenant number 1, they have additional sources of income that haven't yet been reported. Put the number 1 here, their name, and then the contact information. Same thing with tenant number 2. But let's say that you have a third or fourth tenant who has yet to report their income in this worksheet. This is the page where you're going to add that additional income. So again, put in, if we're talking about tenant number 3, put in the number 3, their name, and then all of their income sources with the contact information. And that will take care of this page. This is the additional tenant asset form. So just like with the additional tenant income, you're going to put additional assets that maybe didn't fit within the previous pages, and then you're going to add them here. So for example, tenant number 1 or 2 had assets that did not fit within the asset page of the recertification worksheet previously, then you're going to be able to add their asset information in these areas. But just like with the additional income above, if you have a third or fourth tenant who has yet to report their assets, this is a place where you're going to put that. And again, this space is open so that you can identify which tenant we're talking about. So if it's tenant number 3, put the number 3, and then all of tenant number 3's pertinent information here. So that wraps up the entire worksheet. And thank you so much for being with me, and thank you so much for going through this process and doing it correctly. We do appreciate your time and your effort.